Hi, this is Anna Imagination with a Healing Garden, and welcome to Philosophical Coffee. So, I started to track the fifth ethical perspective from the point of choice when I reached my final stage of the fourth ethical perspective, and now I am in the process of tracking the individual steps. I have suspected for a while now that the stages of perspectives have 12 individual stages inside of them. I noticed a rotation, a pattern, and I started mapping the pattern. Furthermore, I also noticed that I've been here before. This is the first time I've gone full circle with the ethical stages. The first time the first marker, I should say, of the ethics is in 2020, August 2022. I've referred to this moment a lot in my life with that point where my ex-husband kicked me out. He wanted children. I was too old, so he threw me out so he could find a better woman to breed. And I said good riddance and left. I had my own apartment at that point, so I just moved into my apartment. And about a week after that point, my cell phone stopped working. So I went to the cell store and I told them I needed a new phone. And they said to me, "What do you want?" And I've been a domesticated slave for 40 years. I had never in my life made a decision. I was 40 years old, and this was the very first decision I was allowed to make on buying anything. So it was you mean I get to choose? And then I looked at the store and realized all of the options, and it was an overwhelming narrow it down. So I'm huge with overwhelm. It's one of my favorite emotions. I don't struggle with overwhelm. When I feel overwhelmed, I know to compartmentalize. Overwhelm means you need to organize and compartmentalize. I figured this out a long time ago. So when I feel overwhelmed, I don't have a problem managing it. I barely feel the emotion overwhelm. To have fear this well managed is my goal. So for overwhelm, it's an immediate, I need to organize and compartmentalize. I need to literally break it down into categories and then organize my options, immediately decide which characteristic of the options I don't want, cross those out, and now I have only this. And from there, it's okay. Now, of this area, what have I narrowed it down to? So I know how to handle overwhelm. Anytime you feel it, anytime you are in a position of too many choices to make, or you have too much to do, it's using compartmentalizing components, categorizations, and priority. And prioritizing is basically what you lack. If you struggle with overwhelm, you don't know how to prioritize. So again, to do it, it is, I'm going to go ahead and put this on a blackboard. That way you guys can grab it later if you want to do this. But it's one of the things that I've used regularly that has helped me. And it's easily one of my favorite things for overwhelm. But I knew I wanted an Apple phone, so it wasn't a problem for me. So that only gave me like 4 choices. And I wanted the biggest, the best, because I use my phone in placement of an iPad and I read off of it and I love cameras. So with that process, I was able to break it all down and get the one I wanted. But it started something. Well, it started the fifth ethical perspective stage of growth. And it's funny because prior to this point, it's like that changed me. Well, what changed me was I graduated into the fifth ethical stage of growth. So now I have a very precise, on this day, it was literally, it wasn't quite September 1st, but it was like the 29th or the 28th of August. And just a moment here, dealing with overwhelm. So with overwhelm, the emotion is a lack of not knowing how to prioritize and organize. So with overwhelm, you want to compartmentalize, use categories, and you want to compartmentalize, use category, prioritize, and diminish your choices, options, not your choices. You want to diminish your options. Diminish your options, narrow down. Let's say narrow down. Narrow down your options through process of elimination. So there you go. So, and the big thing is the moment you fear overwhelm, oh, interesting, because I would use cognitive behavioral therapy for this. Utilize cognitive behavioral therapy. Oh, absolutely. Why didn't I think of this? Because it's not PTSD related, so we don't think to use it. Using cognitive behavioral therapy for non-PTSD conditioning. Interesting. Utilize cognitive behavioral therapy. Oh, I'm so fucking going to do that. That's really fucking interesting. The emotion trigger and then the panic. But it's not a PTSD trigger, so we don't even think about that. Why the fuck we wouldn't do that? Holy fucking shit. This is big. Oh, fuck PTSD. Let's use it for something else. So I am going to recommend using cognitive behavioral therapy if you struggle with problem solving. So there's problem solving versus, I guess, emotional overwhelm. If you struggle with yes, I wouldn't even, holy shit, this is huge. Cognitive behavioral therapy was designed by Aaron Beck, Dr. Aaron Beck. He's one of the few psychologists I actually love and admire. His work in cognitive behavioral therapy was fucking extraordinary. And he was a philosopher. So he created cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, cognitive behavioral therapy is used almost exclusively only for PTSD. And it's one of the few things that I pulled from psychology that I said, okay, this thing is fucking legit. Cognitive behavioral therapy is fucking legit. It's incomplete. It's a piece. It's a component. It's incomplete, but it is a huge component. You also need to combine it with meditation, and you need to combine it with logical comprehension. When you combine logical comprehension, meditation, and cognitive behavioral therapy, holy fucking shit, you have something really fucking powerful. So that all being said, basically, they tell you, use it for PTSD. So I had 44 plus triggers. I could not leave my bedroom without having a massive hysteric. So after I resolved my PTSD, I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Cognitive behavioral therapy is my little bitch. And I never touched it since. Not really. No, I never touched it since because I didn't have PTSD. But I'm going, why the fuck would you use it for everything? So here's how it would work. Let's go lesser. Let's not talk PTSD. Let's just talk about if you struggle having an emotional response and not problem solving. If you struggle not problem solving, use cognitive behavioral therapy. So I'm going to say cognitive behavioral therapy. And you can get this stuff online. You can Google. Actually, I have it on my website. You can do the Healing Gardens or Anna Imaginations cognitive behavioral therapy. It's in my classroom on my website. So you can, and I have worksheets. I walk you through the process, and it's how I use cognitive behavioral therapy. You can Google worksheets for cognitive behavioral therapy, and you're fine. You don't have to purchase a book. It does not require any licensing. It's easy fucking peasy. You know how to use your brain. You do not need anyone's permission to use your brain. So this is how it works. Cognitive behavioral therapy for emotional management. That's what we're going to call this. Oh my fucking God, shit. This is amazing shit. I am so fucking happy for this. So here's what happens is you have the emotion, which triggers. Let me think about the physics. I got to switch over to physics. So I got to go back to the beginning. So you have a catalyst, okay? And then I'm going to use this catalyst. They are making a new Harry Potter film. Oh, I'm so fucking stoked. The Cursed Child is going to be released in theaters with the original cast. So I'm so fucking happy in 2025. And when I saw so my eyesight was the electrical wiring. So it begins with a catalyst. I received the data. It set off electrical energy. This is the electrical wiring electrical energy, electric physics. So it set off the electrical energy. Now, energy cannot be destroyed or created. It converts, it transfers, or it gets stored. Those are your options. Store it or transfer it. Those are your only fucking options. And you can only store it so much before you have to transfer it. So electrical energy comes in and it immediately transfers over to chemical energy. Chemical energy, in this case, for our Harry Potter example, is excitement and euphoria, ooh, because they're getting a new movie. And I'm just so fucking stoked. That triggers a chemical reaction in my brain with my hormones, which is giving me dopamine, and oxytocin. So I'm really fucking happy right now. So I'm getting a lot of oxytocin because Harry Potter's coming back. So I'm so thrilled. So you've got catalyst, electric energy, chemical energy. And then that converts over into emotional energy. That is where emotions come from. This chain reaction of catalyst, electrical energy, chemical energy, emotional energy. Emotional energy gets stored into emotional potential. I'm going to say potential emotional energy. Potential emotional energy. And it sits there. Now, you have a conscious choice. You can use that potential emotional energy to transfer it over into kinetic energy with choice, or it remains stored. Now, you only have X amount of storage. We call this suppressed energy or resistance. Resistance is not nice in physics. Physics and resistance do not get along. Physics hates resistance. There's supposed to be no resistance. We call this interference. We don't like this. Like, you become unstable and explosive and reactive when you have resistance. It's called friction. We don't like this. In a human being, that friction translates into emotional pain, and it's fucking agonizing. It is hell. So you have to use choice to consciously direct your stored potential energy into a specific purpose, a thing, an action for kinetic energy. And there it is. Now, for people who get emotions and they have no management, one of the primary problems is your emotions are probably in surplus. You have emotional surplus of potential emotional energy due to resistance. We're just going to say poor management. Yeah, we're going to do poor self-emotional management. You have to manage your emotional energy. You have to fucking do it. You have to do this. If you do not, this is where mental illness comes from. It will rewire your fucking nervous system. That is what will happen if you don't do this. Because if you are not choosing to transfer that stored potential emotional energy from your storage unit over to something kinetic, oh, your body will. And that is when it rewires your nervous system. That is the kinetic energy. So you will get a mental illness. So emotional surplus of potential emotional energy due to poor self-emotional management. So then what happens is you have a catalyst, which sets off an emotion, which sets off, there's a, we call this in physics, well, a reaction time. We call this reaction time. And you basically have a we're going to call it a short reaction time. And then you become unstable and reactive or panic. Now, problem solving is what you want, problem solving. But the problem solving needs to occur during the reaction time, but you have to increase your reaction time. So it might not be a PTSD trigger, but it is still a short reaction time. Cognitive behavioral therapy is used strategically to identify, name, and consciously interrupt, then redirect the emotional reaction into a logical action. That is what cognitive behavioral therapy does. Actually problem solving. That is exactly what this is. It is conscious problem solving. Cognitive behavioral therapy is identity. You identify the problem, you name it. Why did I write identity? I need to say you identify, you name it, you consciously interrupt, then redirect the emotional reaction into a logical action, which gives you control, self control. I need to clarify self control. So, that all being said, what you would do is if you are having an emotional response, fear, anything, find the trigger, but it's not a PTSD trigger. Now it's going to be what makes you feel afraid, what makes you feel overwhelmed. And that way, when you see the fear or the overwhelm occurring on a regular basis, now you know, oh, well, X is going to give me fear or overwhelm. So I'm going to use this as an example. It's going to be a stupid example, but it's an example. So let's assume for a minute that this thing gives me fear. It's tape. If you want to know what that is, like, what the fuck is she holding? It's tape. So let's assume for a minute that this thing gives me fear. Okay, this represents the trigger. So this thing comes in, I look at it and I go, ah! So that is a known trigger now. Now I can say, every time I see this, this thing gives me, ah! So now I know what to expect. Now, next time I see, I come up with a plan. Now I don't make this plan while I'm going, ah! I make this plan in between, like when I'm calm. You know what? I notice that every time I look at this thing, I go, ah! So I want to think about that. And I think about what reaction do I want to have? I don't want to have any reaction when I look at this thing. I want to identify the core or the source of the fear. And then I want to make a plan to direct my action away from it so that I feel in control. This is exactly, you're just basically applying choice to eliminate fear, because choice or a lack of choice creates fear. This is it. So you basically, so there are, like for me, at 5 o'clock every night, I have an emotional wave of depression. Not depression. That's really a hard word. I have an emotional wave of just a low point every day at 5 o'clock. And I know at 5 o'clock, I'm going to be hit with a massive wave of just, oh. And it is okay, let's make preparation now for what happens when that wave occurs. So then you would say, why is the wave occurring? What's really going on? For me, I know that at 5 o'clock, it's when I expect to come home to a partner that's not there. So it's a reminder that I don't have anyone. So it's what can I do? What can I decide strategically to direct everything at 5 o'clock to get it away from that? So then it's basically coming up with a plan, an alternate plan, so that when X occurs, you are not reacting. Instead, you are strategically doing something else that will allow you to take it in a different direction. And then you practice it. And with cognitive behavioral therapy, you want to track your reaction time. It starts off with like an eighth of a fraction. And then over practice, it gets bigger and bigger. That reaction time expands. So cognitive behavioral therapy is actually the practice of increasing your reaction time. So eventually there is no reaction. Eventually you develop the association of I see X, I'm going to do something I enjoy, and it's done and over with. So that all being said, when you have something like this, and this is all coming back over and over again to our choices and our overwhelm, it's a lot of dealing with how we problem solve. It's how we do everything. So choice, see here, I'm just grabbing this thing and I'm going to drop it in the link below so you guys can see it if you want to look at it. So this is overwhelm. Like it's literally having a strategic plan for each and every one of your emotions that you struggle with. And there shouldn't be that many. When you are, if you have, you're going to have a couple that you probably struggle with, but if you have a lot, you're going to there's something else going on. Because your emotions are cluing you into your problems. So if you have all of your emotions, if you're somebody who's saying all of my emotions are a problem, okay, that's not your emotions being a problem. That means your entire equilibrium is off balance. We run off of alignment and balance. We have an equilibrium, a self-equilibrium. And so I'm going to take like a couple minutes to explain some basic physics. The world runs on equilibrium, the whole fucking world, the whole universe, the whole galaxy, the whole sun, everything in physics, everything revolves around a balance, equilibrium. All of science, all of chemistry, all of physics, all of math is just studying the equilibrium. The electromagnetic field is the equilibrium. The planet, the economy system, everything is on a scale. It's a balance. It is a 3-point scale. It is not one of these. It is this. And it is absolutely sensitive. It does not like to be imbalanced. An atom has an equilibrium to it. And if the atom is not balanced and aligned, well, that's how we get the atom bomb. We need equilibrium. And karma, even Stephen, this is Mother Nature going, I want my balance. All Mother Nature gives a shit about is the equilibrium. She just, everything has to be balanced. Everything has to be balanced. She's obsessed with it. It's wonderful. She's got OCD real bad. She's like, balanced. Everything has to be balanced. So that being said, everything has order, predictability, mathematical computation. Everything revolves around this equilibrium of aligned and balance. For some stupid reason, I have yet to figure out why no one ever, maybe philosophers did, but only philosophers, realized or thought to apply human beings to this law. This is like natural law and order. Everything revolves around equilibrium and balance. Humans are no exception. Humans are part of the system. So if you are not aligned and balanced, physics is going to fuck you up because you're breaking the laws of physics. You want to know why you're in pain? Because you're breaking the laws of physics. That's why you're in pain. Cognitive dissonance? Hello, frequency. You are breaking the laws of physics. You are making choices that violate Mother Nature. So she's going to make you fucking miserable because you are violating the law of physics. There's like the laws of physics, and then there's the law, which is don't fuck with the equilibrium. And when you do, oh, she'll make you pay. She will make you pay. And that's where pain comes from. That's where suffering comes from. We call it cognitive dissonance because of cognitive harmony. Dissonance is a music term that means your frequencies are out of line. In physics, we call this phase difference, interference. This is physics, people. You're in pain because you fucked with mother physics. That's what I call Mother Nature, mother physics, logical mother physics. So when you realize, oh, humans are physics. Humans are physics. Humans are physics. And physics has only one law. You have to be balanced. And if you don't, oh, you're fucked. You are fucked. You respect the physics. So Mother Nature gives you pain, emotional pain, in ratio, because every reaction has an equal and opposite reaction, in ratio to how much you are not listening to Mother Nature. So if you're in a lot of pain, it's because you're violating a lot of ethics. If you're in a little pain, you are violating a little ethics. See how this works? Yeah. Physics matters, which means every one of us really needs to be learning physics because it's the law of you. Physics is the law of life. Oh, I like that. I like that. Brandy, write that down. Physics is the law of life. And if you're going to be alive, you kind of need to know what order and law you should be learning. Because if you don't, oh, you're fucked. Because that's where pain comes from. So your physics, and you can feel physics. That's what intuitive logic is physics. You can feel fucking physics. All these people who put chakra stones up their ass every Mercury is, well, you dipshits, you physics. It's because they're fucking with physics. And instead of doing the work to align with physics, because they're not studying physics, they're studying chakra stones and putting amethysts up their butts. So stop putting amethyst up your butt and study some fucking physics. That way you know how to align and balance yourself. You are energy. You are energy. Energy is not this mystical thing. It is not the 10th century anymore. Energy is a real fucking thing that physics dictates. So, and we all know this. We all know everything is energy. Einstein said so. Everything, and he was a physicist. So everything is energy. And if you're gravitating towards chakra and you're gravitating towards the supernatural and the spiritual, get a fucking book and read physics. And this is an old, and I am, this is something I am just like, oh my God, can we please get past the 2nd century? Really, this is so fucking archaic. It's old. It's not wrong. It's just an ignorant translation of physics. And that's it. We hear this all the time, that magic is just science. And all the scientists are going, yeah, magic is just science. And all the magicians are going, no, it's not. It's spirituality. Dipshits. You're ignorant. It's science. It's just physics. And I remember the crossover. I just did the crossover for myself a few months ago, where you cannot do science with a biased point of view. You can't. You have to abandon all bias, because confirmation bias is a huge problem in the laboratory. So from 2019 to 2023, I was like, I'm going to do the whole embrace divination. I'm going to embrace astrology. I'm going to study the fuck out of this thing with an open mind, open heart, complete. What is this thing? It's physics. It's just dumb man's physics. And instead of studying physics, they are reporting on a lot of feelings that they feel, that they think. And my thought on that side of the ignorance was, why aren't scientists studying this? They are! It's called physics! And I'm going, wait. So astrology and divination is just math and physics combined. Yes, it's all math and physics combined. And it's on a rotation, so it's a cyclic mathematical pattern, so it's predictable. So I'm looking at this going, so all of this divination, all of this astrology, all of this, wow, they're so accurate. Well, yes, just like the clock, it's 2 p.m. once every day. That's how accurate it is. It's just a fucking clock. And when you're that ignorant, you're in awe over it, because you don't know that it's a mathematical pattern based off of physics. So it's going to impress a bunch of second perspectives. That all being said, we really need to start studying physics with the idea that this is your body, this is your mental health, this is your mind, this is you. And this is what, like, when I built the AIDNS, when I built everything, when I fixed my brain, I realized that the psychology woohoo garbage, which is as bad as witchcraft and divination, I realized that, now I think it's worse because it claims to be a science when it's garbage. So it was a realization that all of this is just physics. All of it is just physics. And I went, when you look at equilibrium and balance of life, there's a real, it's almost as if there's emotional energy inside of us, and we have a surplus of positive energy and a surplus of negative energy. And what happens to energy when you resist it or suppress it? Well, things go boom, which is why people explode and have explosive anger, is because they're suppressing it. So when I started to pull all these threads apart and realize that all of this is just physics, suddenly the importance and the value of learning physics is up there with learning how to read and write. And we're not doing that. So you have a lot of people who are so ignorant on basic human existence. Like, and I think about it now, and I'm building a university, I'm building a school. And one of the primary core, we're going to talk about physics. We're going to talk about how you have an equilibrium. And if you are not managing your equilibrium, you're going to be in pain, you're going to suffer. So these are all the components. I've already broken them down. Here's all the components of your equilibrium. Here is how to manage all of these components. And this is how to get the balance. That way you can make the proper choices, navigate your life properly, which comes back to choice, which is what I want to talk about today, because all of this is about choice. So I want you to imagine that you have a ship. I love ships. You have a ship, and your ship is the vessel that you are going to use on your way through life. Life is the journey. Now, the destination, in ship talk, we call that the heading. In your destination is your dream. That's why we call it a destination, dream. So your dream is the destination. So you're in life, let's say you're 5 years old, and you're going, what do I want? So imagine somebody, let's call her the universe, Mother Nature, has given you a ship. Hey, I've given you a ship and you are going on a voyage. Now, You are going on this voyage whether you fucking like it or not. You have a ship and you have a voyage. And that is what you are born with, a ship and a voyage. You are there in life right now with your ship and your voyage. Now, a lot of people don't know that they have a ship and a voyage. And those are the people who have boarded their ship and they're being tossed by the storm and they're going, I don't understand what's going on, because you are on a ship and you're on a voyage. And you probably have not set a destination. You need to set a destination. Your destination is your dream. So pick your dream, and that now is your heading, because you're going whether you like it or not. You are going whether you like it or not. You can choose to commit suicide. Please don't do that. But that is a choice. And if you're not going to go that route, please don't. Then you are on a voyage. A lot of people just don't know that they're on a voyage. A lot of people do not know how to steer this voyage. And as a result, it's not going to be a nice voyage. It's not. It's fucking hell. This is how to make it a nice one. You get your dream, and that's your destination. So your dream becomes your heading. Now, your choices are what is going to steer the ship. Literally, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about this. Your choices steer the ship. Now, some people don't make choices. Well, you're going to hit an iceberg many times. Many, many times. Choices will steer the ship. Not choosing is going to steer the ship. So you can choose to not choose, or you can choose to choose. I'm going to say that again, because this is where people go, I don't have a choice. Oh, no, you do. You've chosen not to choose. So you can choose not to choose, or you can choose to choose. You are still choosing. This is one of those things in life where there is no get out of jail free card. People who say, I can't. No, you've chosen not to choose. You've chosen to allow the waves to crash you into the iceberg. No, you've just chosen not to choose, but you're still chosen. So the first choice we make is whether or not to choose. This is that choice in life that no one ever talks about, that a good therapist would actually talk to you about on day one of, let's talk about your choice of not choosing. You want to know why you're shitty and miserable? It's because you're choosing to not choose. That's why. You're just choosing to not choose. When you choose not to have a dream, you're choosing to not choose. When you choose to be beaten and abused, you're choosing to not choose, because you're not taking control of your ship. You're on the ship. You're on a voyage. And you are either choosing to choose or you are choosing to not choose. But you're going. When you choose to commit suicide, please don't do that. You are choosing to not choose any further anymore. You are choosing to get off the ship permanently. You are choosing to sink your ship. A lot of people just don't know that they're on this voyage. A lot of people don't know. You've got a lot of really ignorant people out there who are going, oh, well, fate and let me tell you about fate and destiny. Fate and destiny is the want. You still have to choose your destiny. You don't get to choose what you want. You just get to choose whether you go there safely or not at all. You are still choosing. There's no way around this. This is free will. This is what we mean by free will. Free will is you choosing via inaction or you choosing via action. You're choosing. Fate and destiny is the want comes to you and the want is there regardless. I have a whole hypothesis about want and desire and where that comes from. I'm not getting into it right now because it's completely off point. But the want and the desire is there, and it is accumulated by what you love. I think that love's only purpose is to inspire desire. Interesting. And I think that is where love's purpose ends. The purpose of love is to inspire desire. And if you desire love, you desire inspiration. I think that's where love ends. Love is the beginning. Are you okay, Dan? Okay. I think that's the beginning. That feels right. That feels good. That feels really logically right. Like all of my logical buttons are going, yes, this is true. This is what it feels like. This feels right. It is compatible with your logical comprehension of life. When something feels right and feels good to me, it's because it's compatible with when something feels right and feels good to everybody, it is because it is compatible with your logical comprehension. That's why something feels right and feels good. It's because it is compatible with your logical comprehension, which is why you should trust it. It's because it's compatible with your logical comprehension. So I believe that this is it. Love is at the beginning. It should not be at the end. Because you create a catch-22 when it's at the end, which is going to come back later and bite you. You really should not make love your purpose. Love needs to be the thing that inspires. I love science and I love physics. I want a career where I just do this research for the rest of my life. Now, there's my destination, my physics. I want to be a physicist. That is my dream. I want to be a physicist. This is my dream. I want to be a physicist. So this is my dream. I want to be an ontological physicist. That's what I want. Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. I want to be an ontological, I'm already an ontologist. I want to be a physicist. I want to be like better than Einstein physicist. That's what I want to be. All right, I'm going to be. See, there's my dream. There it is. See, I'm already there. I'm already like, yes, I'm a physicist. I'm an ontological physicist. I am like continuing Einstein's work. I can see me doing this. I already see it. I'm already there. So now I have a heading. I have the inspiration, the love, the desire. That love, dream, desire creates the destination. Now, this is where a lot of people say, oh, I can't. Now we're back to the choosing. You see how choosing constantly gets in our way. Choosing is based off of belief, fear, and logic. If you have low logic, you're going to have high fear. Your beliefs are based off of your emotional and negative energy, your emotional mental environment, whether or not you have a surplus of positive or a surplus of negative. If you switch your system over to choosing, it actually eliminates fear. The more you choose, the less fear you have. Choosing and fear are in ratio to each other. Choosing is literally the cure to fear. So the more you choose, the less fear you have. I am currently right now I'm going to be using cognitive behavioral therapy, but right now I am currently using choice to condition fear out of me. So that every time I feel fear, oh, you have to learn and choose. Fear, oh, I have to learn and choose. I feel fear, oh, I have to choose. Every time you feel fear, that is a clue that you need to be choosing, much like overwhelm. Oh, I need to organize. So now overwhelm is the emotion that translates to you need to organize. Fear is the emotion that tells you, oh, you need to choose. You need to make a choice. You need to take action. I'm going to be doing this with all the emotions. Anxiety means you need a plan with choice. Yeah, every emotion has a translation to it, and I've translated it. So if you can identify your emotions, then you can just go to my graph, plug it in, and oh, that's what I need to do. So you need to practice this. And when you practice it, you increase your skills. So this is literally skills and practice. We're going to call this training, emotional training. Yes, I like that. We're going to do that. Emotional training. We're going to do that. Where it's just going to be a full graph, and then it's going to be using cognitive behavioral therapy to literally teach you how to use your emotions to train you properly on how to manage your life. So, because it's just every emotion is in ratio to another emotion. And if you can figure out the ratio, which I have, and it's one size fits all, because all emotions are the same. And once you are able to put all those together, and because physics likes equilibrium, You have to have the equilibrium in order to be, yeah. So you've got your ship, you've got your voyage, now you've got your destination. Now, you have a crew. A lot of people don't know this. In fact, no one fucking knows this. This is like the work that I did to fix my brain. You have a fucking crew. Your crew is your 7-part self. You have 7 parts to yourself. People like to think that they have one person and that's just themselves, and that's ego, conscious awareness. No. You've got 7 people inside of you. When these 7 people fight, you now have a divided union, cognitive dissonance, and it is the self divided. You are now no longer an integrated whole. You are a bunch of components. When you have components instead of an integrated whole of the self, oh, you're fucked. For a time anyway, until you figure out how to put yourself back together again. To put yourself back together again, you need to integrate. You need to work with yourself as a team. You need to work with yourself as a team. And you're not doing that because some dipshit, some abuser went into your life and turned you against yourself. Your team is made up of these people. Your identity, what you love. Your intuition. In philosophy, we refer to that as intuitive logic. It is what a lot of people refer to as Holy Spirit and God or the universe. It is you. It is your intuitive logic. It is your consciousness. It's your Jiminy Cricket. It's your, ooh, I got a bad feeling about this. That's your intuitive logic. It is 100% your barometer for reading the mathematical energy of the planet because Mother Nature is physics. And you have a barometer inside of you that measures that physics. But if you study physics, you'll know this. If you don't study physicists, you probably believe in God and spirituality instead. It's physics. Physics is spirituality. So, this is why math people are my people. It's because physics is spirituality. Spirituality is just dumb man's physics. So, intuitive logic is literally just your barometer for reading the logical math and physics of the environment. It reads, yeah. Intuition is your environment's barometer for logic, math, and physics. That's it. I love this description. This is phenomenal. It's reading the logical math and physics of your environment. That is what intuition is. There you go. It's like the best fucking definition of intuition ever. It is your barometer that measures your logic, math, and physics levels of your environment. So you have identity, you have intuition, you have conscious awareness. That is you. Conscious awareness. Now, a lot of people have low conscious awareness, or you can have high conscious awareness. I have really high conscious awareness. Like on a scale of 0 to 100%, I have 100% conscious awareness. Most people have like 5%. That statistic is not made up. That comes from NIM and the CDC. 95% of your choices are made by your subconscious mind because 95% of your choices are being made unconsciously. You are your subconscious mind's little bitch. This was not okay for me. I was like, oh, fuck that shit. Oh, no, I'm in charge. I have slave trauma. So I have to be in charge. I have severe slave trauma. Well, no, not anymore. I just have to be in charge because I've been the other way and I don't like it. So conscious awareness, most people are at 5% conscious awareness. No, not me. I'm at 100% conscious awareness. I don't sneeze without going, why the fuck did I do that? What was that being? What was the in purpose behind that sneeze? I don't do anything. I scratch my nose and I'm consciously thinking, what if you were to use this moment right now? Like right now, I have an itch on my back and I'm thinking about it. What if you were to become the discipline of your own itch? Why respond? I don't respond habitually to anything. There's nothing mindless about me. That is how self-aware I am. The more self-aware you are, the smoother your life is. It's fucking awesome. So conscious awareness is supposed to be in charge of the management. It's the captain of the ship that manages all of this. It's the manager, the ship manager. Identity is the captain, but conscious awareness is the one who does everything and gets the shit done. It's the operations manager. There you go. Conscious awareness is your ship's operations manager. And most operations manager are only 5% effective. So identity, intuitive logic, conscious awareness, and then you have the fear system. The fear system is your self-preservation gone haywire. It's actually your self-preservation. But most of you don't even know you have a self-preservation because you have to be so zen and so fucking chill before you can even feel it. Self-preservation is, I feel cautious. Not worried. That's fear system. You feel cautious. You're concerned. That's self-preservation. If you live in the realm of cautious and concerned, you're good. If you are not feeling cautious or concerned, if you're feeling worry, your fear system's turned on, your self-preservation is off. Your self-preservation is all about be cautious, but be leery. Leery is good. Leery is good. That's your self-preservation. Fear system is fear, panic, anxiety. If you have these emotions, your fear system's on, your self-preservation is off. Self-preservation is like 1 and 2 level out of 10. If you imagine you have a lever of 1 through 10, self-preservation is 1 and 2, which is where it's supposed to be. Most people are at 8, 9, 10. And that's when your fear system is in charge. So the next thing is your defense system. Your defense system is the part of you that keeps you safe. It keeps you safe. Your fear system does not keep you safe. Your fear system is literally a self-destruct button that is destroying the self like a cancer. Your fear system is cancer. There you go. Your fear system is soul cancer. How's that for a description? Your fear system is soul cancer. Your defense system is what keeps you safe. That's your anger. But a lot of people are like, oh no, anger is bad. No, fear is bad. You want to suppress something? Suppress fear. How to suppress fear? Choice. It doesn't suppress it. It just manages it and then turns it down to self-preservation. So your defense system is what you need. But we are in a society where we are trained to abandon our defense system. Our defense system is our communication, our setting boundaries, our using discernment. Discernment, big word, Google it. It's really fucking important for self-management, which is why a lot of people don't use it because they don't know it exists. Discernment. It is objectivity. These are all the tools of the defense system. Almost no one has them. Your defense system, your fear system, your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you have, who am I missing? I would say my subconscious mind, the cognitive core. One moment, I got to think about this. Identity, intuition, ego, fear, self-preservation, defense. Logic. It's the belief system. I haven't come up with a name for this yet. I stopped using the subconscious mind. That's what I used to call it because the whole thing is a subconscious mind and it's so vague and it's a misnomer. And I'm like, I really need to correct this. So I'm switching it over to the logic and the belief system. And that's really it. It's your belief system. But your belief system, and it's the cognitive core. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, this is it. Yeah. So it's your belief system. And it can be a logic-based belief system or a fear-based belief system. Really, it's your choice. So you've got those. That is your crew. Your identity is the captain. Your intuitive logic tells you basically where and how. All the how comes from intuitive logic. A lot of people get freaked out about how. They're like, I want, but I don't know how. Your intuitive logic is what's supposed to determine how. It does determine how. You don't choose how. This is where a lot of people really, there is an order of operations and components. The self is made up of 2 things, components and order of operations. This is really fucking deep shit, people. But this is it. Your self is made up of the order of operations and the components of the self. If you don't know your components, you're fucked. That's what I do here. I teach you the components. If you don't know the order of operations, you're fucked. That's what I do here. I teach you the order of operations. When you have the components and in the right order, smooth sailing, smooth sailing. The reason why everyone is hurt, fucked up, and there's a mental crisis is because people don't know the components of the self and they don't know the order of operations. For instance, you've got your ship, you're on a voyage. You want your dream. People will go, how do I get there? That's not your job. How comes along the journey by intuition. You got to start the journey, which you're already on. It's just not going well for you. And people spend more time focusing on how and the belief that they can't, which is choosing to not choose, that they go nowhere and they hit icebergs. So their order of operations is out of the way. What they need to do is focus on where they want to go and using choice to get there. You have to choose to go. That's all you have to do is choose to go. I'm going to choose to go. I'm going to choose to be a physicist. And immediately, as soon as I say I'm going to choose to be a physicist, intuition goes, read physics books. Ooh, that's a really, there you go. And I didn't have to, she comes to you. Intuition is waiting to deliver your order to you with a how as soon as you make a choice. And there it is. Intuition is literally standing there. A lot of people use manifestation as this example, and it's a really good example. Intuition is literally standing there waiting to deliver the how to you. All you got to do is sit there and place the order, but you're not. You're going, yeah, but how? Why are you thinking about how? You don't even know where you want to go yet. Choose the destination. So it's what you want and making the choice, choosing to choose. And this is where it starts. Want and choosing to choose. So these two things, and this is part of where my work is right now. This is where I'm hyper focusing on this is the part of the self that I'm dissecting at the moment, is the relationship between want and choose. It's like what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Want comes first. So it's now a metric of how much do you want it? Do you want it enough to choose it? Or is it just something there? Like, I want my coffee, so therefore it is in my hand. I have chosen to get my coffee. Now it's a point where it's habitual, but I love my fucking coffee. So I want to be a physicist. I want to be a physicist. This is like, I want to be an ontological physicist. When I meet people and they ask, what do you do for a living? I'm an ontological physicist. I want to say those words to people. Because that's who I am. Because that's what I am. I want to live the life of an ontological physicist. Yeah, good luck finding a fucking husband who will tolerate that shit. Yeah, I'm seeing my problem. Problem, which tells me, well, the problem solving is like a whole nother thing. So then you've got tools on your journey. And once you decide your want, and once you choose to choose, you have your heading, and then you use your crew to get there. You do not get to choose how. This is one of the things that I love. Remember back in 5th grade English class? Who? What? Where? When? Why? Have you ever noticed that the word how does not start with WH? This bothered me as a child. In philosophy, we find out why. This is where logical intuition kicked off and went, isn't that interesting? Why doesn't how match? Because how is not part of that. I will explain why. When you integrate who, what, where, when, why, the greater whole is the how. How is the greater whole. The components of how is who, what, where, when, why. Isn't that fucking gorgeous? Because Mother Nature is that sexy. I fucking love her. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. I'm sorry. Who, what, where, when, why are the components of how. How is the integrated great whole. So we're all sitting here going, I don't know how. I don't. Who are you? I am an ontological physicist of the future. What do you want? I want to be an ontological physicist. Where do you want to do this? Brooklyn. Actually, Manhattan, but I'll settle for Brooklyn. Ooh, burn to Brooklyn. I'm settling for Brooklyn. As a New York City joke. When? Like now? But okay, let's say 2 years from now. I can do it in 2 years. 2 years. I can be a physicist in 2 years. Why? because I want to. Ooh, ooh. Oh. Oh. So I found want. Oh. Oh. I understand purpose now. I understand purpose. You don't have to have a deep meaning. It's because I want it. That's the meaning. That's my purpose, because I want it. I want it. Who am I? Oh, that's my identity. I am who I love. Identity is what I love. What I love. What do you want? And to be an ontological physicist. Where? Near. When? 2 years. So now I have a goal. By the way, this is how you do goal setting. This is it right here. So now when you integrate all of these things, well, this is how I'm going to do it. I am going to do it in Brooklyn and in 2 years because I love it. So what the question is really that people aren't asking, that they're trying to ask, is what is the next step? That is what people are trying to ask with the word how. What is the next step? I use manifestation because I understand the physics of manifestation, not the spiritual bullshit of manifestation. It has taken me a long time to break down the manifestation of physics. I'm sorry, the physics of manifestation. I had a vision 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. That was so fucking disturbing. I have been terrified to speak it out loud. I do not say this out loud. I will never say this out loud. I became so terrified of this vision, of even speaking it, that I studied manifestation to see if my speaking it would create it. Therefore, I don't speak it. But it did set me on this massive studying everything I could on manifestation to determine if I think it, does it happen? And no, it's not. It's not possible. It is not possible to exist because just in thinking it, the entire concept is too low of a frequency. It's a horrible thing. It is a fucking horrible thing. And you can't manifest things that are horrible. And I was able to prove the physics of it. So when I was able to use physics to prove that this thing cannot be manifested just by thinking it or seeing it or saying it, I am now comfortable with myself that just because I saw it doesn't mean that I'm going to create it. And I needed that. So I did a lot of studying manifestation for this purpose. And I use manifestation. I literally use the words, show me the next step. Show me the next step. You know your destination, what you need. And there's two parts to a destination. There is the destination and the next step to that destination. So what you need is the next step. So I use the manifestation, show me the next step. Closer to my destination. Now, that is what a lot of us are going through in life. We don't know the next step. That's where we're stuck. I don't know what to do next. Now, whenever you use the words, I don't know, a lot of people don't process this, but the words I don't know means you lack knowledge. A lot of people don't realize this, that when they don't know and they lack knowledge, that they have the power to get more knowledge. Believe it or not, people don't realize this. They have the power, let's say resources, to get the knowledge. This is extraordinary that people do not know this. It's one of those things where, well, yeah, that's common sense, but a lot of people actually lack this skill. So it's the I don't know. Well, you lack knowledge. You know you have the resources to get the knowledge. I don't know how to get knowledge. Well, it's called research. Now, yeah, this is something that blows my mind away. This is problem solving, by the way. You research how. Now, a lot of people don't know how to do this. And I'll tell you why. It's because they're not using expansive thinking. That's why. They are not using expansive thinking. They don't know how to use expansive thinking. So expansive thinking teaches you how to do this. And if you don't have expansive thinking, you feel the emotion, I don't know, and you shut down because your intuition, your everything is not stepping up and plugging it in. So it's a stall out. It stalls out because you lack the destination, because you lack the choice, because you lack the want. So when you don't have want, choice, and destination, want, choice, and dream, when you lack these three things, your system goes into a kind of dormant. It shuts down and it becomes dormant. And this is why a lot of people don't go anywhere in life. This is why a lot of people quit. This is why a lot of people get stuck. This is why a lot of men are living in their mom's basements playing video games. This is why. It's because dream, want, and choice, they don't have these three things activated. You have to activate these three things to get the momentum. So it's like your ship has stalled out and it sits at port. That's exactly what it's like. You have a nuclear ship. It means that it's run on nuclear energy. A lot of the modern ships are running on nuclear energy. I know a lot about ships. So you have to basically wake it up. Now, momentum, and a lot of people are like, yeah, but I don't have the motivation. Motivation is momentum. When I say we're physics, I fucking meant it. Motivation is momentum. When you lack motivation, what you're really lacking is energy momentum because you do not have stored potential energy to fuel your ship. The reason why people don't have stored potential energy is for a few reasons. The first reason is they may be suffering from an addiction, and every time they feel the slightest bit of discomfort, they pick up the addiction, which siphons off the excess of built up potential energy, which depletes their storage. Addiction depletes your potential energy storage. You are supposed to be storing up your anxiety. You're supposed to be storing up. Let me finish this entire picture before you jump to conclusions or jump to wait, listen, observe, learn. You have to store up anxiety and discomfort in order to have enough suffering to transfer it over into kinetic energy. But if you're constantly, if you have a low tolerance for discomfort, and that's it. People with a low tolerance for discomfort have a problem. They are some of the biggest sufferers of this because they have a different type. So you can have a high tolerance or a low tolerance. Now, Mother Nature wants everything equal. She wants the balance. You can't have too low of tolerance and too high a tolerance. I suffered from too high tolerance, so that I had to be in extreme pain before I finally had the motivation to transfer over. If you have too low tolerance, it means that you will avoid it and you will never build up the discomfort. You will seek to deplete the storage before it builds up. So there is a sweet spot. The sweet spot is the point of equilibrium, the point of balance. And when all these emotions come to you, if you have low tolerance, and this is what I really need to focus on also next, is if you are somebody who has low tolerance or high tolerance, because you're going to handle things differently. If you have low tolerance, you struggle with addiction, you struggle with codependence, you struggle with self-mutilation, you probably have depression, you probably have an eating disorder. These are people with low tolerance. If you have high tolerance, these are people who put their head down and push through anything. They are workaholics. They don't know how to relax. They don't know how to turn off. They endure a shit ton of pain, and that's not the motivation they need. Pain does not motivate these people. Pain and discomfort does not motivate them. Low tolerance, they avoid discomfort. And as a result, they lack building up potential energy. So there's that sweet spot that finally gets you the motivation to transfer it over into action. High tolerance people they're numb to it. That, oh, I have pain, I have emotional suffering, I'm fine, I can get through it. And they'll just put their head down and get through it. They won't change the situation. This is the core of why people choose to heal or not choose to heal, is because they either have a low tolerance or a high tolerance. Now, the people who have balanced that sweet spot, those are the ones who make the change. Those are the people who get mental help, because those are the people who go, okay, I am motivated to change. And that's what you are actually seeking, is the motivation to change, which comes from momentum. But if you don't have the right balance of momentum, you're never going to change, which is why you get stuck. So the question is, are you stuck over here or are you stuck over here? If you are stuck with low tolerance, you are suffering from the lack of the first ethical perspective. If you are suffering from high tolerance, you got stuck in the second ethical perspective. If you are stuck in the first ethic, it means that your parents were probably over-enabling. If you got stuck in the high tolerance, then your parents were probably neglectful. So if your parents neglected you, high tolerance. If your parents enabled you, low tolerance. It all comes back to parenting every single time. Yeah, there you go. So if you were neglected, you have a high tolerance of pain. And if you were enabled, then you have a low tolerance of pain. If you had a parent who binge and purged parenting, that means that, well, that puts you in high tolerance. That puts you in high tolerance. If you had binge purge parenting, I had binge purge parenting. Binge purge parenting is a mother who over enables and then neglects you, and then over enables and then neglects you. Yeah, that's binge purge parenting. My words. And when that happens, it puts you into high tolerance of pain, because that's when they make you nice and cushy and you trust, and then they rip it out from under you. And you're like, okay, after a while, you just learn to trust yourself and you don't rely on other people. And you have memory of being loved and you suffer. So it really fucks you up, but that's high tolerance now. And if anything, that puts you in even more avoidance, because you know precisely what you're missing. People who are so neglected that they don't know what they're missing. So if you were, so again, it's second ethic, first ethic. So here's how you do this. If you are in low tolerance, you need to use exposure therapy to endure, to teach yourself and build up an endurance for pain. You have to get comfortable with discomfort. You have to teach yourself that discomfort is okay, because you're going to need a little bit of discomfort to motivate yourself to change. Flipping over into high tolerance. If you are in high tolerance, you need to get yourself to a comfort zone. You are in a war zone. You are stuck in the war zone. You may have found a fox bunker, and you might be like nesting down in one of your bunkers, but you are in the trenches, and World War II is happening, and you are in no man's land. That's it. Is if you are high tolerance, you are in no man's land, and you are in apocalypse now. So you are in survival mode. That's no man's land. That is high tolerance of pain. That is, you are in the war. So if you are low tolerance pain, low tolerance discomfort, you need to carefully, slowly recondition yourself to discomfort. Reassure yourself that being uncomfortable is okay. And if you are high tolerance, you need to get your fucking ass out of the bunker and get to the comfort zone. And it's going to feel fucking weird. It's going to be culture shock weird to you. And expect this. This is something that people don't understand, is culture shock. Now, you're going to get on the same path. You're going to get on the same location. You're both going to the same place. You both need to get over to the adventure zone, because that's where learning, that's where everything happens, is the adventure zone. But people with low tolerance are terrified of the adventure zone. They're one step closer, but they're terrified of the adventure zone. People who are in high tolerance don't know how to get from the bunker in the war zone and no man's land over into the comfort zone to start building up the potential energy. They are depleted, and they can't even begin to develop storage. Whereas the people with low tolerance build up some storage, and then they quickly siphon it off with addiction. And then they build up storage again, and they siphon it off, because they are that averse to discomfort. But you need those higher levels of discomfort to get the potential energy stored up, so that you shift over to kinetic energy, which puts you in the adventure zone. So if you are low tolerance, exposure therapy. Get yourself comfortable with discomfort. If you are high tolerance, get out of the war and get back to stateside. Get into the cultural zone, or I'm sorry, get into the comfort zone and expect the culture shock. The culture shock is the hardest part for those people. The culture shock is unbearable. It's bearable. We'll get through it. We endure it. But and this is I remember God, I remember when I did mine. It was getting out of no man's land and getting back to the comfort zone. Is everything feels weird, everything feels wrong, everything feels off, and you're just like everything is pins and needles. It feels like you're getting the curse of 1,000 acupuncturists all at the same time. It's fucking horrible. And there's nothing wrong. And you know nothing's wrong because you're in a comfort zone. And that's what's wrong. That is what's wrong. You have adapted to the war. And there's a culture shock when you get into the comfort zone where you're just like, where's my swords? For me, it was swords. Where's my swords? Where I need my swords. And that's all you want is your weapons to protect yourself because you're in the comfort zone. You're terrified of the comfort zone because you don't understand it. So you have to train your brain to understand comfort. That's the difference. So yeah, this is it right here. This is it right here. I'm going to focus a lot of attention right here. A lot of attention right there. So once you start to really, and this is your want, your choose to choose, and your dream. And then you have your crew. And you have to learn how to use your crew. I've got all that stuff in my AI DNS that teaches you how to align and balance everybody, get everybody doing the right thing in the right order, get the components done, get the order of operations, manage yourself through the journey so that you reach the destination with little to no pain, truly. And when you have an obstacle, because you are going to have an obstacle along the journey, you then use cognitive behavioral therapy and the emotional, what did I call it? Because I love those words, emotional management. What was it I called it? I loved it. I was like, oh my God, I love this. Emotional training. Emotional management training. Yes. So it was emotional management training. And it's literally logical navigation of your emotions. It's really fucking cool. So emotional management training is when you literally apply logical navigation to your emotions. Logical navigation. And when you do that, it allows you to use your emotions to strategically get yourself through obstacles and problem solving so that you're no longer reactive. You're no longer having meltdown after meltdown. Now you are literally consciously choosing to go where you want to go in life, making the conscious effort to get there. This is life. This is life. This is like life skills 101. And the sooner you realize that we are at the mercy of physics, that our entire brains, our minds, our systems revolve around this equilibrium, and that without the equilibrium, without the balance of the equilibrium, you're not getting anywhere. You're not going to get anywhere without significant amount of pain, suffering, etc. This is inner peace. Inner peace literally is just aligned balance of your equilibrium according to physics. That's all it is. It's that easy. It is that simple. So says Newton. In simplicity, there is truth. So that when you finally get to that point where you realize the journey ahead is just make sure that when you're going, you have the balanced equilibrium with which to get there. And it completely changes the game. It completely changes it. So a lot of people do get messed up with the how. They really spend a lot of time focusing on the how. And it's not, this is how. It's understanding your components, understanding the order of operations, understanding what it is you are really dealing with. And that's just it. A lot of people have no idea what any of this is. This isn't psychology. This stuff is not in psychology. This is not in psychology. Fuck psychology. Psychology is garbage. And oh my God, is it fucking garbage? And I'm an ontologist. That's the difference. This is the difference. I always say philosophy is where they keep the good psychology. And when so this isn't something you can just Google. It's not out there yet. I invented this from ontology to put it together to go, okay, here's your cell system. This is what happens when you put physics and ontology together. Well, they are together because it's metaphysics. When you put these things together and you go, oh, everything's based off of an equilibrium, including the subconscious mind and the self. Imagine that. And then when you start living a life according to the laws of physics, because we are not exempt from the laws of physics. And this is really what it comes down to, is if you do cling to the spirituality, and I'm going to say it again, the Holy Spirit, spirituality, it's just physics. It is just physics. And when you break down the logic and the comprehension of this, the concept of religion and spirituality, it's extraordinary, because when you look at the evolutional growth, religion exists in the first through four perspectives. Spirituality then is the next stage. Physics is the next stage. And when you get here, you realize that it was physics all along, that physics was translated into a religion, and that physics was translated into spirituality. And then you get here and you're like, oh, it's just physics. It's just physics. And I remember, and I've said this, and I'm going to say it over and over again because it just blows my mind. I remember being in the second perspective, in the fifth perspective, in the sixth perspective, going, why don't scientists study religion? Because scientists have figured out that religion and spirituality is just physics. They already are studying the religion. They just call it physics. That's why. They're already studying it. They are already studying it. And when you start to realize that physics and astronomy and math and logic is what makes up astrology, and that it's just computated math prediction with pattern repetition, it's not impressive. It's predictable. So there's literally three divisions now. There's the physicists, there is the spiritualists, and then there's the religious people. I don't converse with religious people. They don't like to hear any of this. And I had people where I would go rounds with spiritualists. They're like, oh, you need spirituality. Really? Do you? Let's talk about that. And when I was in the sixth and seventh perspective, I clung to spirituality. I was like, oh my God, this is definitely it. The thing is, you lose spirituality. It just, you realize that it was physics the whole time. Yeah, you're right. You do need spirituality, except let's call it by what it's really called. It's physics. And you can feel physics. You can feel physics from the time you were 2 years old. That's what intuition is. Yeah, your intuitive logic. It's your barometer for the logic, math, and physics of the environment that you're in. So when you feel somebody and they give you bad vibes, in physics, we say, yeah, you're picking up on their frequency, and their emotional mental environment is literally producing a positive energy source or a negative energy source, and you can feel that fucking energy because you are physics. So, rule number one with physics: balance. Aligned, balance, equilibrium. And that's what karma is. Or else Mother Nature will fuck you up, because physics. Respect the physics. So thank you so much for your audience today. And may the kindest of words always find you.